take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. It's
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. It's
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. It's
Right?
already here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are receiving this transmission, we are back. You are the resistance. Yeah.
This is your last chance.
Last
After this,
chance.
there's no turning back.
No turning back.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland.
Stay in Wonderland.
How deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And
30
this
seconds.
will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot Anonymous here, call me.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing.
10 seconds.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped.
Are you ready?
Momentum is already here.
How's that for some nostalgia for you? You are receiving this. Whoops. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's been a while.
Why is this so hard to believe?
Oh,
if you
shoot.
cannot get past this, then I suggest this whole
All right, apologize. How's that for some nostalgia? Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure you go to the Rumble link, rumble.com/the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Go to YouTube also. Needs more subscribers, but definitely the primary outlets are Spotify, Rumble. Trying to get more traffic over to YouTube as well, but Rumble is the more reliable platform, as well as Spotify so far. We're live on Facebook also right now. Everyone that's tuned in, a lot of people go over there too. TikTok, I still got to figure out the whole TikTok live thing, trying to produce that. But anyway, getting back to this, tonight's episode's kind of like an emergency episode, so somewhat. A lot of activity has been going on across the world as far as drones, UAPs, UFOs. Is Trump a globalist asset? And what is the Elon directive? And what is Agenda 2030? And what does that detail? I know I've talked about that before a few times on this show with other guests, and also have done I've spoken of it on other episodes. And what does this all have to do with what's been going on? And I know there's a lot of hype, a lot of concerned hype. Some people are like, whatever, it's just stuff in the sky and it's man-made stuff. And I agree with like 90% of that. Like, a lot of the drone stuff is pretty much human-made or man-made. And I'm not even suggesting that any of this stuff that's been going on is quote-unquote alien or extraterrestrial, or I don't know. I don't have a definitive answer. I have some speculations on what it could be, but I know that it's been a bit of a hot topic, and it's definitely has increased. I do have some videos that we'll go into tonight. I'll try and get to most of them. Some of them are a little bit long-winded, so I'll try and shorten them up. There's a few NASA. I believe I have a few NASA videos. I have a few recent videos of the drone stuff, and then there's also what are the drones actually doing, and why are they out there in the sky, and how come the government supposedly doesn't know? They definitely do know. That's a lie. If anyone that's been following closely to what the government says, that you don't trust the first thing that they say out of their mouth. But there's also a lot of the congressional hearings, and there's been an uptick of congressional hearings that have been going on with like people like David Grush, Luis Elizondo. There's a few others there, and I think there's a couple of Air Force, Navy pilots, military personnel, government people that have been attending these congressional hearings and talking about, what are these drones, and what are these things in the sky that they're seeing. There's a famous circulating video called the Tic Tac video. There's a few videos out there, and so let me back up here too, before I go into this whole full-blown drone discussion, when I was a little kid, I don't know, probably very young, my grandfather would open me up to like space, NASA exploration, all that stuff, because during his time when he was a kid, all that stuff was going on, the development for the space race and all that stuff. But he was also very fascinated in, if there's, some sort of extraterrestrial life or whatever, and the fascination behind that, rather. He had also had experiences throughout his life where he's seen things in the sky that wasn't explained. Now, this is during the time, I want to say 1940s, World War II time. So just before World War II, and then shortly after that, sightings, whatever. And this was global. This wasn't just stationary to just the United States. It was this goes back in ancient times. I'm trying to remember and recall one of the stories. I believe it was one of the expeditions during the 1400s. It might even been in Columbus. I don't recall the exact name, but in the recorded journals, it was all written down. Obviously, there was no video cameras then, but they had seen lights as they were traversing the ocean. They had seen lights in the sky, and and they described this eeriness. I'm going to try and recall that story if I can bring it up. I'll try and bring it up. I have other stuff going in it, so I don't want to go dive too deeply into these other stories, but there's paintings also, cave drawings and stone carvings and all this stuff of these orbs or whatever, lights in the sky with men inside of them. Even biblical scriptures describing these things. The book of Ezekiel would be a very, very perfect example describing what, I guess in the best way that they could have described it, or Ezekiel could have described it at that time, was what they were seeing. And this goes back thousands of years, not just 80 years, 100 years, 200 years, or 400 years. Excuse me, it goes back a few thousand years, way before so-called jet propulsion systems and before the Wright brothers invented or reinvented rather the way to, flight. So everything that we're seeing from up until this point, there's nothing new under the sun. In fact, there's even depictions on stone carvings, and I don't know the full validity of it, but I haven't seen anything that has debunked it, where some of these stone tablets or stone cave drawings, I want to say it's in Giza somewhere, or somewhere in Iraq, where, there's depictions of what look like helicopters and what look like jet planes and all that stuff. So there's everything that we're seeing right now that's in the sky and that has been in the sky has been here either during when we were created, or at some point or another came before, or just in the mix of when we started to develop as a civilization in early humanity. I mean, look, it talks about this. We can go into like the whole Anunnaki angel, and I'll dive into that a little bit, because I have some discrepancies with that particular story, but I do have there's something about that story that also resonates. There has to be some validity to it, and I think it coincides with scripture. I think it coincides with it's either the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Great Flood and all that stuff. And I think we're definitely seeing fragmentations of stories throughout historical times, biblical times, times of antiquity, where all these things have had a presence to some degree. Whatever these things are, I don't think someone knows. There's definitely some definitive proof that points towards what these things actually are. And you can call them angels, you can call it demons, you can call it extraterrestrials, you can call it, aliens from Sirius B, where the Dogon tribe talks about these star people that came down and were able to, I'm paraphrasing a bunch of the story, but, they basically taught them, star systems, where they were from. And, there's depictions and stories about this throughout history where, there's these entities that have visited, human beings, human tribes. Even the Hopi Indians talk about, some type of star people that come from the sky. And there's depictions and cave drawings, and the most recent paintings have, come from basically out of Eastern Asia, Europe, some parts of West Africa, depicting some sort of higher. I don't know if I want to say a higher intelligence, but definitely something more sophisticated and intelligent that had the ability to have some sort of flight. Whether this is the same thing that we're seeing, and I'm talking about orbs. I'm not talking about drones because I don't know if you've ever seen a drone. You can see there's those store-bought drones. And in fact, drones started actually making an entrance when basically during the war after when 9/11 had happened, and America started invading Iraq and Afghanistan, and then using these drones, which basically just look like planes. And I think I'm going to try and pull one up so I can get everyone up to speed on that if anyone's not aware. And these drones they basically look like a plane. Drones used in Iraq. I hope it doesn't come with anything. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at actual bombings or anything like that. But they were used in bomber runs. So yeah, here's a good picture. This is actually one of the pictures that I've seen. Let's see if I can pull this up on screen. All right, so you see all this right here. So let's see. This is out of The Guardian. But this photo right here, like this is what your typical drone looked like during U.S. military bombings. Like this is what they used to bomb or surveil or use as surveillance over Iraq and I think Afghanistan too, I'd imagine, and other places in the world. And this is what they use. You see right here at the end of it, it's actually opposite of what a plane would be. The plane usually has the propellers here. Usually this is what you would pretty much be a cockpit right here where you would fly the plane. But on the end of it here is where the propeller is. And that looks, I believe that's a camera, and I believe that might be a missile of some sort. I don't know. I'm not a military equipment expert, but this is what, when drone is said, this is what I think of. In fact, I've seen these fly around. Maybe like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, during around the Capitol. I'm from out of Rhode Island, so around the Capitol of Providence, I've seen these fly around, and I imagine that they were being used as surveillance or whatever. I've seen them being used during the whole BLM Antifa riots and all that stuff. These things, I've seen these ones. I haven't seen anything. Oh, and I've seen other like types of like police drones and all that stuff. You see them all the time out in Providence, actually. You can hear them all the time. And you can kind of tell most of the time, I do believe, I may, I might be wrong about it, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I see a lot of, when I see those, I see a lot of, I don't know, these weird, not weird police trucks, but like they just look like they're just like equipment type technology apparatuses of some sort. They're not flying the drones that I was just showing. I think I can pull a picture up right now. but you know, they're like a lot smaller. They're a lot more. They're probably not as efficient. And also that drone that I was showing there was obviously it's unmanned, but it's operated. It's not. It was at the time, as far as I know, I don't think they were being operated with like artificial intelligence or anything like that. I don't think they had any of the tech in there. Probably something computerized, obviously. But I don't know if there was anything like AI assisted or anything like that. The ones that they have now, actually, AI can drive it. From what I'm reading, from what I've read, they can drive themselves and target themselves. And the only thing that it doesn't do, I don't think it actually goes ahead and, you know, makes the decision to strike. I think that ultimately those decisions are made so far by human minds. What was I looking up? Oh, yeah. So Providence Police drones, I think. Police use drone after report of lasers aimed at plane. This is out of East Providence. Launched a drone on Saturday after report. This is December 16th, 2024. So, this is not. This is just a few days ago, or about a week ago. Let's look at this.
East Providence possibly shining. Police are investigating a report of someone in East Providence possibly shining lasers at a plane that was trying to arrive at TF Green Airport in Warwick. Pilots reported.
Oh, they were shining lasers at a plane. Yeah, don't do that. It's a federal offense. I'm not sure how easily you could be caught doing it. Just don't do it. Probably not a good idea. And why be a dickhead? Yeah, I'm looking. Let's see. Drones. Let's just look up police drones. Yeah. So it's typically this. What's going on, Angelica? Auntie Kathy? Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're talking about drones tonight, and if Trump is a globalist asset, and if Elon Musk, the Elon directive, we're going into some few things, but right now we're focused on drones. I'll try and get to those other stories, but right now I'm just going into the whole drone thing right here, and I'm just trying to differentiate to bring, you know, anyone that's hasn't been following the story, but bring them up to speed on what some of these things may look like, and then we're going to go into the New Jersey, New York, California, Florida. It's even been out here supposedly. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but so what we saw earlier was the Iraqi drones that were issued, U.S. military drones issued in Iraq during the invasion after 9/11. I'll go back to that real quick. So some people are getting brought up to speed. So yeah, this one right here, I've seen these fly around out here. Not recently, but actually during the BLM Antifa riots. So I've seen this actual one. But these are the ones that they used during wartime in Iraq, Afghanistan, probably some other places. And those are the ones that I remember when they were starting to issue those out. Now, since then, they've gotten a lot smaller, a lot more, I guess, portable. I'm pretty sure they still use those because they're pretty sophisticated, but they're fairly big. They're about as big as maybe like a small plane. Like, see these guys right here? I don't know. I can't really get a big scale, but they're kind of like a small plane, like this guy, but that's not the one that we were looking at. You can see this right here, kind of scale it. Kind of like a small plane, like a single engine small plane. Now, police, and I've seen police drones also being used, especially downtown Providence. You usually see them during the summertime, and they do look like this. They pretty much, this one right here, Try and blow this picture up real quick. Anyone still see that? Yeah. This picture right here, I've seen the insignia of police somewhat, and they usually just have like your typical lights that are on a police vehicle. They have the blue and red, and you can hear them buzzing, and they keep them about, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 feet. Probably it's slightly above the tree line. And they just kind of patrol, and they fly them around. They're not, as far as I know, they're not just free flying. I believe they're controlled by somebody. If they have like some type of specialist that does this. Over 60% of the public safety agencies are operating on less than 10,000 per year. We don't need to read this. Will they be weaponized? Most definitely they'll be weaponized. Will they spy on you? Of course they will. They already do. And will they violate your rights? Probably. They already have. We are in a surveillance state, and that's not going away, ladies and gentlemen. So, not unless we overturn globalist tyrannical agendas, which is going to take some type of divine intervention. In fact, I think that's what we're heading into. I think some of this stuff is basically, you could rip pages out of Scripture, out of Revelations, out of the book of Ezekiel, and know that we are in these times. We may not know the day or the hour, but we will know the season. And I believe that we are in that season. So, yeah. So this police drone, I don't even know if I had it on screen the whole time. Was I? Maybe I did. Let's see. So, yeah. These right here, these drones here, you see those flying around, and they're not too big. They're probably like a small bike, like a bicycle, like a kid's bike. I don't know if that's a good scale. Yeah, maybe that's a scale, kind of like that. And they just do their normal surveillance. These are not the ones that people have been seeing recently. Because the ones that people have been reporting of seeing, they say that they're about as big as a SUV or a decent-sized car. And that's not what's being seen. And that is basically the scale of, basically the Iraq type of drone that I was showing earlier. But that's not even the ones that are flying around at all, as far as I know. I haven't seen any pictures. Those are pretty easy to spot. I've actually seen those. Like I said, I've seen those during the BLM Antifa riots. Not that we had much over here in Providence. We had like one or two incidences or something like that. But during that time is what I mean. Like especially around COVID, I've actually seen those flying around, and you could tell what they look like. They have no windows or anything like that. You could just tell that it's not a regular plane, but it's also not a so-called UFO UAP. It's just one of those. They're pretty quiet too. They're not too loud. I don't think they put out a lot of propulsion or anything like that. I'm not even sure what they run off of. I don't know if it's a battery or if it's diesel, but or jet fuel rather. And those are pretty much used like for surveillance. They probably have them armed. Who knows? Wouldn't put it past anyone. But those aren't. The weird thing about that is that those are not operated by law enforcement. They're typically operated by military. So that technically that's a bit of a. I believe there's a code somewhere. That I think that's it's a bit of a violation. Like the military can do their dry runs and all that stuff, but to actively use technology upon the public, I think that has something to do with habeas corpus, and I believe it's a violation for them to do so unless there's some type of executive order that the place is in a state of emergency, which pretty much the entire world was put under some state of emergency during that time. So either that gives them a, and I'm probably butchering this too. I don't have all that information up in front of me to fact check myself at the moment. I mean, I'm not trying to blow through everything, but I'm not trying to go too far deep into the rabbit hole of all that stuff. I want to talk about all of the stuff that's been going on in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. And I've been reading also a lot that apparently there's been a lot more frequent plane crashes, especially during this time. That all this stuff, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but it's certainly a bit of a, it's interesting. So now that we got that out of the way, where we could differentiate what these military drones look like and what police drones look like. Sorry, I ate earlier. I have like hiccups. And what those look like now, I haven't really seen any clear pictures personally. About the drones that are like drones seen in New Jersey. I haven't seen any final, clear photos of anything, and I'm trying to pull some stuff up right now just off the fly. I have seen a video that looks like the thing is it looks like a TIE fighter out of Star Wars. But I don't know if that's a legitimate one. So I didn't pull that video because I couldn't really verify on what it was, but it did. I didn't know. There's another thing too. Some of this stuff we have to be careful of because artificial intelligence is really, really good at, making things look pretty realistic. I wouldn't say real, but realistic. So yeah, I'm just getting regular like hobby type drones and like pretty, advanced drones, but nothing that looks like anything out of the ordinary. Like you could if you saw these things, you can hear them. You hear them as a buzzer or something like that. You can hear it. So to me, that's pretty typical. That's definitely man-made in my opinion. Because it's using some type of jet propulsion, it's using some type of propeller system, it's battery, whatever. I've seen, and the reason why I say that, the reason why I bring this up is because I've seen orbs before. I've seen orbs, or orb-like things, metallic. I say the orbs because that's probably the best way. That's probably the best example that I could put or describe it as. I've seen. I've had probably five or six incidences where I've seen something that I couldn't really explain. I don't know what I'm not sure what it was. I'm not here to say like, oh, it's extraterrestrial, it's alien, or it's some, life form or whatever flying in the sky. It wasn't a plane because I know what a plane looks like. It wasn't a helicopter. I know what a helicopter looks like, and I know what drones look like. I can hear them. You always hear some type of sound or whatever, and typically it's because of a sonic boom because it's going a little bit faster than the speed of sound. I know what a jet looks like. I know, in fact, I've heard a jet low flying, and I know what that sounds like, and it's really loud. So any of these other things that I've seen, there's no sound. There's zero sound, and it's always just light. And I've seen them fly, I don't know, super, super high up above the State House one time. It was like these metallic ball-looking things just kind of just dancing around. I don't know what it was doing. I had two incidences over at Scarborough Beach. One time years ago, 2010 maybe, 2009-ish. It was out at the water. And if anyone's familiar with the Scarborough Beach area, when you're over there, I'm going off of memory right now, but you really don't see anything. There's no land. You could look, from the beach where you are. You look out, and you don't see any land. There's nothing out there. Sometimes you'll see a boat or whatever out there, but that's, usually during the day. Now, nighttime, if anyone's ever been out there at nighttime, I recommend, be safe about it, because times are weird now. But go with some friends. But if you look out towards the water, now I don't know if this will happen, but it happened to me twice, at least twice, two very separate times, separated from a long distance of time. Like I said, the first time was 2009, and I really thought that it could have been a boat, right? And it very much well could have been a boat. But the reason why I think that it was something else is because it was so low towards the water, like the lights were, like super low to the water, and some would flash, some would like off and on, and it's not like strobe light flash. It's like almost like it wasn't. They had like a goldish yellowish color to it, which is, I don't think it's an unusual color, but sometimes these boats will have like a strobe light, and that really it just goes round and round and round. It's just the light that goes around, just to signal to whoever else that's passing by or in the vicinity, not to crash into each other. But again, there's no land going outward. There's not a lot of land going towards, probably like, I think it's like northeast away from the beach. It's not that there's no land nearby. It's just that if you go opposite of where the beach is on a boat, you'll hit land eventually, but it's all ocean and there's nothing out there. So this thing came, I don't know, probably like 50, 60 yards or so. And it was really strange. And that was that experience. That wasn't my first time seeing something strange like that. And the reason why I say strange, because it was just a weird, because I was at the edge of the water, and the thing came super close, and I couldn't see anything else. There was nothing else that I could see other than that there were lights that kind of like almost wrapped like a ring, and it was low on the water, and it came really close. It almost felt like I could have walked out towards it. That's how close it felt like. And I was with 3 other people. I was with 2 other friends. Jess and Dennis, if you're watching, I know you know this story. And at the time, I was with an ex-girlfriend who had also seen it. Now, jumping maybe 12, 14 years later, give or take, same spot, same incident, same type. It didn't come as close, but it was definitely close. But it didn't come as close. But it was the same exact shape, same exact colors, same exact kind of like, I don't know. It was very strange. And then other times I had seen stuff that I'm not sure what it was that was flying around. It didn't make any sound. Oh, I was in New Hampshire actually a few years ago. And I think it was like Sunapee Lake, New Hampshire, somewhere, something like that. We were at a lake house. And I wasn't the only one that saw it. There was a few friends that I was with. And all you saw was like this one thing. Now, it could have been a satellite. Could have been that. I've seen those before. But this thing just like coasted. And you could see like the stars like really clearly, like especially where we were. There wasn't a lot of light pollution. But all I could see was this light. And it didn't blink. There was no blinking light. It just coasted. And it was... And I saw maybe 2 or 3 of those on the same night. And I saw that probably, I want to say 3 times, because we were there for almost a week. We were up at an Airbnb on this lake house. And I think I had seen that. I had, so 3 times, 3 days, 3 nights I had seen that type of event. And you could see planes also. You saw the blinking lights of planes. You heard the planes, but then you see, every once in a while you would just see these things, and sometimes they would just kind of go really slow, almost to a stop, and then just, keep going and disappear. Yeah, see, yeah, Angelica, you and George have seen some stuff in the sky. It's those things are, it definitely occurs, and people have definitely seen something that they can't really explain. So what are they? Is the big question. So the whole thing with the whole drone stuff that's popping up, and this isn't the first time this has happened either. Like I guess New York and New Jersey have been going. Not even just New York and New Jersey. It's not even just New York and New Jersey. It's California, it's Florida, it's Maine. It's even out here. I've seen something very strange. In fact, at my house, from out the window, I had seen it. So it wasn't, it's twice, matter of fact. I believe one was a drone. The other thing, I'm not so sure what that was, but it definitely was something. It was definitely some type of ball of light that had some visible structure to it, but I couldn't make it out, and it didn't make any sound, so I'm not sure what it was. I know it wasn't a plane, helicopter, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't like a man-made or man-operated drone or whatever. So the whole drone. So where I'm getting at is like all this stuff is happening everywhere. It's not even just in America. It's also it's in Russia. It's happening in Russia. They've also had their own disclosure. It's happening out in China. It's happening out in Australia, Canada, South America. Now, some of these incidences aren't as heavy out there as it is in America, and I think there's a reason why, is because America, we have our surveillance. People are always like are surveilling the skies. They're able to report it. We have different systems, and even vastly different systems in Canada and the UK have, which the UK have a high reporting too. But places like Russia, China, Africa, and other, and South America, and all these other nations don't have. They're likely not as equipped to report these things. They probably just don't have the systems in place to do it, which makes sense that there's not as much of a reporting. But there's many cases. There's a case out of West Africa, I think it's South Africa rather, where there were like these 9 or 12 kids who said allegedly that they witnessed a some orb or whatever come down, and these things came out. Allegedly, but it seems really, because they all had the same exact story. I'll try and look that up. I'll try and like bring that up right now. But they think, these kids out of Africa, UFO experience, put that. And how they explained it was that these things came out, it came down, it landed, it started talking to them. Yeah, here we go. I think this is it. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. In 1994, 62, sorry, I said 12. 62 school children all reported seeing an alien craft land and extraterrestrial creatures emerge. Virtually every single one of the 62 children iterated the exact same story with the same details, and none of them had gone against his or her story. So, let's see how old or how long the story of children. Yeah, Zimbabwe. I remember this one. Let's see. It's about
The Joe Rogan Experience.
hold on, I don't want to play it just yet. So it's all right. So it comes off of the Joe Rogan show. It's 8 minutes. I don't want to listen to the whole thing. There's got to be a shorter version. Let's see. Well, you know what? We got a little bit of time. 62 children. Let's go back to this. And then I'm going to get into some of the other stuff. But we'll go
The
into
Joe
this.
Rogan Experience.
So I'm going to play this, and I'll just let it play out. It's about 8 minutes long. Hopefully it doesn't bore everybody.
I was doing my first documentary back in 1997 when I was just naive enough to think I can get an interview with Steven Spielberg. We had a mutual friend involved, this woman, Janet. And she gets back to me and she's like, yeah, so Spielberg's definitely not going to meet with you, but he knows you're working on this UFO documentary. He thinks you should look into this landing case that happened in Africa at the school. And I said to myself at the time, and remind you guys that I was making a film on UFOs, and I dismissed it.
Actually, can we find a kids from Zimbabwe UFO incident interviewed? Do we have that? I'd rather just hear it from their mouth. Maybe this is it. Let's see. Yeah, no, Joe Rogan show is definitely. I love Joe Rogan's show. Like, he does have some good guests on there. I question a little bit of his intent sometimes, but especially recently. But yeah, he does have a good show. And yeah, I do think the aliens are trying to see how messy the world is. So I'm going to go into that. We're going to talk about that a little bit too, because there's speculation on why they would even entertain on being here. But let me play this interview. I don't know if I've seen this one, but I think this should be a good enough one for these kids to explain on what they saw. Hopefully.
Rua 1994. On Friday morning, September 16, 1994, the area school in Rua, Zimbabwe experienced a phenomenon that has since become one of the most notable incidents in UFO history. At 10 a.m., the children were outside playing while their teachers attended a staff meeting. A few minutes into their break, the kids noticed something unusual near the edge of their playing field, an area covered in long grass and thorn bushes. Other children then described seeing a silver saucer-shaped object flying across the sky before landing near the trees. They described seeing two beings about 4 feet tall, dressed in tight black bodysuits with narrow, pale faces and large black eyes that had an almost plastic appearance. Many children ran away, but some of the older kids stayed to observe as the beings moved closer. One student described their movement as bouncy, almost like they were running in slow motion or moving on the moon. The kids were just a few feet away and described the scene as glitchy, as if the craft and beings were flickering. One of the figures eventually stopped directly in front of them, and in interviews, the children over and over again focused on its eyes that they found they couldn't look away from. After looking into the beings, this incident flow.
Sorry, I'm skipping into this because I want to see if I can actually hear it from them, from the actual kids. Like even if it's just a snippet. Sorry, y'all. I didn't.
This episode of the Y-Files is brought to you by.
I didn't have this part prepared really, because it's just, this is all kind of free flowing as it is anyway. get it. Let's see.
Number 1.
Oh, it's the same damn video. Come on. Let's see where it. Oh, this is it. Close Encounters, the Area School 3D. Come on. Are you gonna? Oh, so they're just gonna like 3D depict it right now. All right. Anyway, we get the picture. These kids, they see this silver saucer type craft, and yeah, I remember these pictures. This is the pictures that they drew, and then they explain that this thing came, these beings or whatever, pale faces with large black eyes, and I don't know. They saw something, and they're not the first. They're not the first to say things like this either. Like there's been other people out there that have been, saying that they've witnessed some type of creature or being or whatever it is. Not all the time. It's a pale face with large black eyes or gray with large black eyes, or there's you could even look on YouTube or Google, whatever. There's like these extraterrestrial I guess documentaries. One of them's called The Tall Whites. Another is called I don't know if it's titled The Blue something. I'm trying to remember the title, but it depicts like some of these things being blue in color, and that reminds me of some of the stuff that comes out of India. If you see the Hindus, some of their gods, some of the depictions of their god or their gods, whatever, they have like a blue color to them. So I don't know if that has something to do with that. The Anunnaki is typically associated to a blue hueish color. At least in drawings and depictions, and so that definitely has something to it. And sometimes they're depicted with larger heads, kind of larger eyes, taller, muscular in stature, and I don't know. So it's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff. I didn't want to get too far into like the creature aspect of everything, but it's obviously associated to some degree. And so I know I'm skipping around here, and I'm trying not to fall too far. The ADHD with this on me is strong. The force of ADHD is strong. So I'm trying not to go too far deep on some other stories that I hadn't planned on talking about. So this is the only picture that I can so far get, but it looks like so it's described as a fixed wing aircraft, and this is one of the drones that I guess have been seen over New Jersey, and it looks like a plane. I mean, can I blow this up a little bit? Let's see. So in this picture, on the left, it looks like a plane. On the right, it still looks like a plane, just more lights are showing, less structure is showing. So people have said that they've seen things like that, and that could be part of there's speculation on, it's to make it seem that there's drones being flown around, and it's actually plane aircraft and whatnot. But you can hear plane aircraft. That's the thing. Planes are pretty distinct. They have a distinct sound. Even small propeller planes, you can hear those. Double engine propeller planes, you can hear those. Jet engine planes, jets, all those. You can hear them. You know what they sound like. Even if you don't necessarily see them in the sky, you can hear them when they fly around. they have a distinct sound to them. They're pretty identifiable too. Not hard. And these things, planes go 30,000+ miles up in, not miles, thousands of feet into the sky when they're flying, and they could be a speck in the sky and you could still make it out on what it is. You could see two wings, you could see a body to it, and you see a tail and a cockpit. So anyway, this thing right here, that's just one of the many photos that I could find right now that people said they were seeing. This is not even compelling at all. Some of the other stuff that I've seen on some YouTube channels, some of these things look like something out of Star Wars. Right. Well, actually, before I play this video, I don't want to play this just yet. What's this one? Oh. So speaking of drones, and I know I'm trying not to skip.
Cover.
Sorry. I'm trying not to skip around here, but I do want to play some test footage of. Oh, did I just delete it? No. Sorry. I want to play some test footage that, according to the description of the video, it says that it's old footage of an LM MKV. I don't know what the acronym is to that. That is from approximately 1999, the year of 1999. And the video itself, though, I haven't been able to find an older version, but the video itself has been posted December 9th, 2008. But the video, I've seen the video, it's about 47 seconds long. And it looks pretty consistent as far as graininess goes for a video in 1999 that doesn't have like a full-blown production crew. But it's interesting because it in what you're about to see, I'll let you be the judge, but what is about to be shown looks like technology that not only that we've had for a long time, but it's not even technology that we've seen implemented as far as even in planes, even in jet engines, or jet fighters, rather, fighter jets, helicopters, drones. The drones that we have currently, or that we so far, I don't know how familiar you are with drones, with military drones, police drones, and hobbyists. But what you're about to see is nothing I've ever seen, and this is from 1999. Supposedly, the video says that it's from 1999, the 90s. So I'll play that, and see what you think. And it's pretty interesting what this thing does. It's I'll just let you be the judge.
One. Cover.
With no pilot to compromise performance, even more unusual craft and propulsion systems have been designed and tested. This incredible machine was originally designed to shoot down nuclear missiles and satellites.
Yeah.
Just 12 inches long, gyroscopically balanced, and with thrusters at key points around its body, it is capable of instant changes of direction.
Cover. Cover. Cover tracking. Cover. Roll. Woo! All right.
No airplane could ever catch this machine.
So yeah, that's just like I guess a prototype of whatever that they were working on, but that's years in advance of what we've actually even seen. Put in the drone. I mean, the drone that the drones that were used during the Iraq invasion, that thing wasn't able to do what that was able to do. So, and that said that it was 12 inches long and meant to shoot down ballistic missiles, ballistic nuclear missiles. And that's from like allegedly it's from 1999. That's the stuff that they were working on. So where's that as where's that technology at in comparison to today? Because that's way ahead than the stuff that I've ever seen as far as man-made stuff, like whatever that hobbyists are using, the police are using, and whatever that the military's using, as far as we know. Now, because if they have that technology, obviously there's some application of where that's being applied to. And it makes me think, like, what are these orbs? Because at this point, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence through not just the last 10, 20, 30 years, but there's enough evidence from the last 50 years, from the last 100 years, from the last 2,000 years of these depictions of things. Now, we don't have any recorded video, but there's there's been people who have journaled about these things that they've seen in the sky. And obviously we didn't, as far as I know, we didn't have any man-made drones or any planes or any helicopters in the sky during the 1400s, 1300s, 1200s, the first century. It goes all the way back prior to the first century that some of this stuff is depicted on stone walls and paintings and drawings and literature having been written down and all this stuff, descriptions of this stuff, beings coming from another star system or whatever. So these things, or whatever it is, has been here as long as we have. And perhaps longer, but it's definitely has been here as long as we have, and it makes me think that maybe those things are ours, but we just don't know who the hell's operating them, and they very well might be humanly controlled. We just don't know who the hell they are. Now, if anyone's familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer, and I don't know his entire background, so I don't know the full extent on whether he's complete bullshit on what he talks about or if there is some truth to what he's saying. I know that in like a lot of the congressional hearing stuff, you have some of these really credible military people come into these congressional hearings and they talk about the UAPs and all that stuff, and there's legitimate footage that has been tracked and found, radar, fighter pilots and the Navy and all that stuff that have actual video footage of it. I'll even bring one of those things up, and I'll go back and forth between like the New York stuff, because it all ties together. That's the thing. There's really no gap between any of it. It's just that people are more concerned on what's happening on because people just don't know, and they think that, again, I think this is also being used as a way to scare people, because this is going to be Plandemic 3.0. All right, we're heading into phase 4 of the New World Order, and I'm gonna give you some insight on, or not just insight. I'll play a video that kind of talks about that. And you be the judge on whether or not there's an actual agenda to exploit this phenomena that has been around for at least the last few thousand years. That's, we're just able to publicly record it on paper rather than stone, and record it on video rather than cave drawing or painting, or painting all together. We're able to capture footage. We're able to experience it in real time, pretty much across multiple platforms globally, and it has been happening globally. That's the thing. It's not just in America, even though America does report way more. It appears that way anyway. Reports way more, but I think that has something to do with we're just our country's more capable of doing that. Our community, our society, is just more capable of doing that. The West is just technologically advanced, I guess, to be more proficient at reporting these things, whether they're bullshit or not, who knows, but we're able to report it nonetheless. That doesn't mean that there isn't as many cases that are going on across the globe. There certainly are. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised that there's more activity in remote rural areas who aren't able to record these things efficiently enough or be able to report them at all, that those things are actually occurring. In fact, there's probably already been more events that has happened, some type of contact or whatever. I'm sure there are stories out there. The FBI, CIA, government, China, Russia, all these countries, all these governments have this information. They have these databases that are, well, I don't know about the other countries. I do know that to a certain degree, the U.S. and the U.K. and most of the Western countries have a database on what you can access. Some of it's governmental, but then there's also independent researchers that have been doing this, which I actually trust a little bit more than obviously the government does, because the government only gives you redacted accounts and all that stuff, and some of it might even be misleading in order to keep away. And I do think there's a reason on why this information hasn't come full blown public, although they are going through a disclosure, which it seems, but there's also an ulterior motive to that, because I think that this is going to try and get more funding for war material, for making new weaponry and all this stuff, because obviously the technology is there. There's only so much. They've held it secret for so long. At some point, there's a threshold, and it becomes a part of it, and they have to implement it to have it become part of culture, but they have to make it so where it doesn't become fully accessible to you and I in a sense of that, we still have to pay for it. We still have to, launder our time for it. And I'll get to that, because I think this is where Dr. Stephen Greer, if you're familiar with this individual, he's like a UFO researcher, one of the many, but he's made many documentaries and all that stuff. I don't know the full extent of what his legitimacy is as far as his witness accounts and the people he has brought forth. I know that there is a lot of compelling evidence that he's, or at least a lot of compelling information that he's come presented, and it all has to do with technology. It all has to do with being able to get our society away from coal, away from oil and natural gas and electricity, and moving into this basically what he calls it, and what, not just him, but there's other that call it this 0 point energy. It's just renewable energy. It's, you'll hear things like cold fusion, and I guess from my understanding, from when people mention cold fusion, they're actually just saying it's 0 point energy. It's just consistent energy. It doesn't break down. It's somehow, somehow something to do with magnetics, and that, creates this ability to create a high voltage, low amperage, and that could power a home, that could power a vehicle, that could power flight. So, I think that is one of the main, if not the main and only reason on why we aren't told on what these things are. Because if that's correct, then that means that by they I mean these multi-trillionaire families who are heavily involved, who are globalists, technocratic globalists. That means that they've had access to these types of technologies at least since World War II. Because if anyone is familiar with the the kind of creepier side to World War II, other than the fact that there was a Holocaust, is that I think a lot of that was a cover up for some of this technology that was being uncovered in certain parts of the world. and that was the reason for invading certain areas. And on one hand, you see countries going to war on this side, but then on whatever side on the other side of the planet, which there was a treaty made in Antarctica, and that was with Hitler and Russia and America all at the same time during the time of World War II. So it's really strange. Maybe a conspiracy that during wartime, all three of these countries who are supposedly enemies are focused on Antarctica also. And supposedly there was a lot of stuff that had come from out of that. And the Nazis, Hitler, under Hitler's rule, there's numerous photos and I think even videos of these supposedly anti-gravity crafts that they uncovered and reverse engineered. I don't know, but saucers, saucer types too. Let's see if I can pull something up. Nazi, maybe not Nazi symbols, because that's gonna go over well. The true perspective looks up Nazi symbolism. Let's see, Nazi Third Reich. Let's see how well this goes. Third Reich UFO. Here we go. Yeah. You're gonna see a bunch of Hitler stuff, but we're not really paying attention to Hitler. But what I'm trying to do, there's definitely some hold on, UFO Nazi UFO. No, I don't want a Nazi UFO. I want German. Let's do this. Germany uncovers UFO. Let's do that instead of seeing all the freaking Nazi symbolism. So yeah, this right here. This is a declassified. I remember this photo because it's actually in a World War II documentary, if I'm not mistaken. This photo right here. I wonder if this will show up. Oh, it is. Declassified document shows real, in parentheses, flying saucer. Where the hell's the photo? That's it right there, but it's not a very good one. Oh yeah, and actually I think that's U.S. Army. It is U.S. Army. Let's go video. German UFO footage, forbidden history. I think let's try that.
Pilots and aircrew reported that the objects flew in formation with their aircraft and behaved as if under intelligent control, as they could never be outmaneuvered or shot down. The phenomenon was so widespread that the military took the sightings seriously, suspecting that the mysterious objects might be secret German weapons.
It would appear as though the Nazis built advanced, technologically superior flying machines for purposes of military supremacy. However, their radical design led them to be interpreted as being of extraterrestrial origins.
Yeah. There was always a suspicion, I guess, amongst the military powers at that time, where Germany was somehow obtaining technology through their occult influence of some sort. Like they were tapped into some, because they invented the jet. They were the first ones to invent the jet, fighter jet, and long-range missiles, I think, too. And drones. Well, their version of drones, anyway. They just loaded something up with jet fuel, put a jet engine on it, and flew it over into France, I believe. And once it would run out of fuel, it would just crash into wherever it landed. I don't think it was a very effective part of their weaponry, but yeah, I think the Germans at that time, Nazi Germany was definitely tapped into some type of, I don't know. They found a way to tap into some technology that they uncovered somewhere somehow, and I think why they did that was during the cover of war. Was through the cover of war, not just by what they did to not only other neighboring countries and also committing a Holocaust. But I do believe that was their cover. Through the cover of war, they were able to obtain these advanced abilities of technology, and they had America not discovered the atom bomb, which either way I don't find it good or bad, or I guess I don't know. We'd probably all be speaking German at this point. So, all right, I showed some of that. Let's try to see what this is about. Let me just speed up a little, because I don't want to just show a super long video. Well, this is, okay, so I'm going to be showing I guess an older video 10 years ago, because these things have been going on. This thing has been going on for a long time, but this is 10 years ago, according to the video, according to what's posted. I guess it's in this video. It's this light right here in view. That looks like a bird flying. Yeah, these are birds, looks like.
That is unbelievably bright out here.
Looks like another one's coming in right here. Or it could be a plane that's coming in view right here. I don't know. So yeah, the video plays on. So that's just one example I'll get into with orbs flying. I do have a few more. Actually, that's the video that I'm. Yeah. This is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it's listed as 2013. I don't know, because it's hard to do back stories sometimes on some of these, but you could see in this screen, you see almost like a triangular shape orb. Sorry, I took it off screen.
You know I've been no fan of here.
Apologize about that. Just look at that one more time. So yeah, it's just like sitting there still. And this is similar to what I have seen over the State House, only it was kind of like these lights were like dancing around. All right.
How you doing? I'm Callan, and this is Slapped Ham.
Slapped Ham. It's another good YouTube channel. If anyone will we'll go through some of this stuff here, and then I'll play something from Dr. Stephen Greer also, so he can kind of give a perspective on possibly what some of this stuff is.
years after it was captured on video. Uploaded to YouTube by user UFO Betty, the December 26, 2018 footage documents what appears to be a mysterious otherworldly entity descending from the sky and approaching a local family. Dr. Jamie Luna Becerra and his daughter experienced the inexplicable. The mystery lingers and the video continues to spark fascination, and this UAP goes around it and takes off faster. To put it in perspective, matching or exceeding the speed of an orbiting satellite is a feat far beyond.
This is very similar.
To scan or inspect it.
Very similar to what I've seen before in New Hampshire.
Before zipping off at an incredible speed. One commenter highlighted the mind-boggling scale of the event. Can you imagine a satellite travels approximately 29,000 kilometers per hour, and this UAP goes around it and takes off faster? To put it in perspective, matching or exceeding the speed of an orbiting satellite is a feat far beyond any known human-made technology. Could this be part of the growing evidence leading to the disclosure of otherworldly technology, or are we witnessing the cutting edge of covert human innovation? For now, the truth remains as elusive as the UAP itself.
And there's like 3 objects. Just mute this guy right here. So yeah, that might be a satellite. And then this thing right here. And then you see this thing right here. So there's like 3 moving objects here. The only one that's doing its own moves is that one. Interesting stuff. Oh yeah, so this is that's interesting. Oh, sorry. I didn't even have it on video. I apologize. So yeah, this one right here. I'll go back. You got an object over here, an object right here. This bright light, possibly a satellite because it's not moving. That possibly might be 2. And then this one just maneuvers around and flies off. And this, I'm about to show, this is from military footage, supposedly. And it looks like it kind of cloaks a little bit, or I don't know what it's doing. And it also has some weird dangling stuff from it, so I'm not sure. It's probably... I mean, it almost looks like a balloon, but then again, on some angles, it looks like it's a thing that is just flying. It really doesn't look like an orb or anything like that. It's not moving as far as like, it's just moving in a direction, but like, whatever that's underneath it or swinging or dangling underneath it isn't like moving in any wind or anything like that. It doesn't look like the wind's really pushing it or anything like that. I don't know. They call this the jellyfish UFO. But apparently, like, this was picked up on drone footage, or like someone was able to capture this from the military, from the Air Force.
Military airspace. the installation before vanishing from sight. Its intent, origin, and technology remain unknown, with intelligence agencies continuing to classify it as UAP. Adding intrigue, Reddit user ArshbullXR recently shared footage of a similar jellyfish UAP over Golden, British Columbia. Captured early in the morning, the object displayed eerily comparable behaviours. The footage strongly resembles Corbell's military-released video, sparking online debates over whether the two sightings are somehow connected.
I've seen the first one. I have not seen that second one.
Congressional hearings on UAPs introduced the Immaculate Constellation Report, which describes a class of UAPs as organic and jellyfish-like, complete with appendages resembling tentacles. The report suggests these UAPs may have biological or non-traditional technological origins, heightening the mystery surrounding Corbell's footage and the Golden BC sighting. As sightings of UAPs with jellyfish characteristics increase, theories range from advanced undisclosed technology to extraterrestrial or even biological origins. The military footage, combined with credible civilian reports, offers a rare window into a phenomenon that defies easy explanation. For now, the jellyfish UAP remains a compelling mystery, leaving scientists, military officials, and the public grappling with its implications. Are these UAPs part of a broader pattern, or are we simply scratching the surface of something far beyond our understanding? Four years ago, Reddit user Ayane shared a perplexing video that continues to intrigue and baffle viewers. Captured while returning from Bronte Beach in Australia, the footage shows a strange object floating high in the sky.
Why does it look like a person? Holy shit, dude. Why does it look like a person? Okay, it looks like a stroller.
Despite a 100x zoom, the object's identity remains unclear, sparking debates about its nature and origin.
Yeah.
Its shape has drawn comparisons to the jellyfish UAPs reported in recent sightings. But with a tweet circulated on social media,
Some of these things that look like they have legs to them or whatever, it could be balloons or... But, you never know.
For years, a tantalizing snippet of footage is circulated on social media, showing glowing orbs near a military base in Afghanistan. Now, the full 10-minute version of this encounter has surfaced, and it's raising even more questions about the mysterious objects. The newly released video, shared on Reddit by Entire Thought, offers an extended look at these unidentified aerial phenomena and their strange behaviour. The video captures glowing, multicoloured orbs hovering outside a military base. At first, their rigid formation and bright, shifting colours are perplexing enough, but the most shocking moment comes at around the 45-second mark. Watch. A missile is launched at the orbs, hitting them directly.
Whoa.
Instead of being destroyed, however, the objects remain completely unaffected.
First time seeing this video. What the Let's play that back.
A missile is launched at the orbs, hitting them directly. Instead of being destroyed, however, the objects remain completely unaffected.
Huh. That's strange.
The The footage later switches from FLIR, forward-looking infrared, to normal vision, confirming that these glowing objects are not conventional drones or flares, but luminous, hovering spheres. The footage has reignited the debate about the nature of UAPs. Some viewers suggest this could just be a standard military exercise involving advanced training targets, arguing that the orbs might be a high-tech decoy designed to test missile systems. However, skeptics of this theory point out that the orbs' apparent invulnerability and their rigid, synchronized movements seem far more advanced than typical military technology.
I've never seen that. Never seen anything
Others
like
believe
that.
the video could be evidence of extraterrestrial craft or advanced unknown technology. The original snippet of this footage has long been discussed in online forums, often dismissed as a training exercise due to its short length. However, this full 10-minute version provides a new context that challenges this assumption. With the extended footage, viewers can see the orb's consistent, unusual behavior over a prolonged period, and their ability to defy conventional explanations. The glowing orbs over Afghanistan remain a compelling mystery with no definitive explanation in sight. As debates continue online, the footage stands as yet another example of the unexplained phenomena that challenge our understanding of the skies.
Like it returned back to its shape and doing whatever this. Very interesting.
In February 1995, the American TV show Hard Copy shocked viewers by airing a videotape showing a mysterious unidentified object flying over a North American military test range. This footage, allegedly smuggled out by contractors working at the Nellis Air Force Base bombing and gunnery range in Nevada, has since become one of the most intriguing pieces of UAP evidence. Further segments were later shown on the Sightings TV show, sparking widespread speculation.
So look, as you can see,
The video.
there's quite a bit of footage out there spanning from multiple decades, from 95, 2011. There's I'm going to show another one here. This one, I thought maybe this one is actually a little interesting too, because every time that the woman does say, Jesus loves me, the orb reacts to it. I have no idea if that has anything to do with it. The most interesting part about it is whatever this is, it's definitely something, and I think so. I guess this woman, blessed be, is the one who posted it, and I'm not sure where does it say. Eastern Pennsylvania. In the description of this video, it says this was filmed December 15th at 4:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Pennsylvania. Video was posted December 18th, 2024. So it was posted recently. Let's play it. Put this on screen.
Jesus loves me. Oh, you know Jesus. You know Jesus. Jesus is awesome, isn't he?
If I can do this today. Where am I? In between those two trees.
What is that? She's got a hell of a camera, too.
See if I can zoom in more. I know I can, but my fingers don't work. There we go. Let's see if we can see that. That's kind of cool.
Keep it steady. Come on.
Look at that. Can you talk to me? Can you hear me? Jesus loves me. Oh, you know Jesus. You know Jesus. Jesus is awesome, isn't he? Yes, he is. God is good. God is good. God is good.
Yeah, what is that? It's very interesting. And there's so many of these. It just appears to be some type of energy, but there's like a pin of light surrounded by, I don't know what that is. Whoa. What do we got here? Let's take that down. Thank you, Blessed Be, for posting that. This is on the Cornwall. I should have been mentioning these pages. This is on Cornwall Live page, posted December 26, 2024. A family, let me put it on screen. A family in Cornwall were left baffled by mysterious lights in the sky, which they believe was a UFO. Charlotte Halier reported seeing a quote-unquote really strange series of lights hovering over the hills near her family home in Torpoint. I don't know. Where is that? Charlotte. No, not Charlotte. Cornwall? What the hell is that? Charlotte said they initially thought the lights were from drones, but as they floated further away from into the distance, she believed they would be too far out of reach for a drone controller to maintain connection to them. She also said they made no noise and did not move like anything she recognized. So, let's see what it is. Yeah, these are things that people have been seeing a lot lately. Not just like man-made type drones, but stuff like this. And there's so many videos out there of similar things too. All right. That's it. Let's see.
Members of Congress received...
Whoa. I gotta take the automatic play off these videos. George Knapp. Oh yeah, George Knapp. Anyone's familiar with George Knapp or Jeremy Corbell? They have a channel called Weaponized, and they do a lot of, mainly they just focus on UFO, UAP stuff. I'm sure they're gonna have a lot more material that come out with, especially in the last few months, weeks. But George Knapp, he's also a news investigator, so it's 6 minutes long. Let's play it. Why isn't it playing?
Classified intelligence briefing today about the drone swarms that have appeared for weeks now over a growing number of states. And then late this afternoon, the Department of Defense issued yet another statement about the mystery drones, assuring the public that it is taking the issue very seriously.
In Nevada and elsewhere, millions of eyes are fixed on the skies to try and catch objects that have appeared in restricted airspace and buzz critical infrastructure.
George Knapp is here with an overview.
At this moment, 1 year ago, there was another drone swarm that was underway. For a period of 2 weeks, dozens of unidentified objects swarmed Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. And even though that base has some of the most sophisticated technology in the world, it could not track, identify, or deter the so-called drones from entering restricted airspace. The same appears to still be true for our military, which has frequently blurred the line between identifiable drones and objects that are truly unknown.
Great Omaha, technique kid, Rocco Peralta pass ability to launch Hilo ASAP.
In July 2019, more than 100 unknown objects buzzed and swarmed around 10 U.S. Navy warships 100 miles off the Pacific coast. The objects were documented on camera, on radar, and on thermal sensors.
Splash.
In multiple shapes and sizes, including huge wingless orbs with no detectable propulsion system. Just drones, no biggie, the Pentagon suggested. A few years earlier, when Navy pilots on the East Coast encountered unusual objects on a daily basis in their training ranges, the debunkers called them drones or balloons or both, certainly not UFOs. 4 years ago this month, dozens of unknown drones appeared nightly for weeks in the heartland.
The sky is lit up with Christmas lights, basically. There's lights and things flying all over.
Sheriff's departments across the border area of 3 states have been flooded with similar reports since mid-December.
The U.S. military never learned who or what was behind it, as if it was just one of life's little mysteries. In the past few years, the all-purpose term drones has replaced swamp gas and weather balloons as the military's go-to explanation for unknown objects. In what might be the most ironic of the current sightings, intrusions by so-called drones caused air traffic at Wright-Patterson Air Base to shut down this weekend. Wright-Pat is where the wreckage from the 1947 Roswell crash was reportedly stored. Nice touch, drone people.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
An assortment of government officials have tried to quell public concerns in recent weeks, but the public isn't buying it, and the mystery drones didn't get the memo either. Social media platforms are jam-packed with cell phone videos of assorted lights and odd objects seen nightly in the skies over New Jersey and many other states, including Florida, Texas, California, and Oregon. Most are likely the lights of airplanes, but some do resemble standard drones, albeit a few the size of an SUV. They do not perform like known drones. New Jersey officials have demanded briefings and say they were told the drones are not a threat, are not being flown by the U.S. government, are not being flown by foreign adversaries, and by the way, the government is unable to track them, doesn't know where they originate or where they go each morning.
It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there.
The president-elect is among those who doubt what the public is being told.
They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment.
That is not an airplane.
In the absence of credible information, rumors have swirled. Maybe they're from Russia or China or an Iranian mothership parked offshore. Or maybe it's a secret operation by the feds to quietly track down a dirty bomb or nuclear materials smuggled into the country by terrorists. Officials have tried to quash such rumors, but their credibility has been impaired. Just days ago, the public was told there were 0 verified drone intrusions into restricted airspace over military bases. Then, in a statement just days later from multiple agencies, including the FBI and the military, it was admitted there have been intrusions by unknown drones over 2 New Jersey military sites. Also confirmed drone intrusions over a nuclear power plant. Prior to the New Jersey outbreak, mystery drones repeatedly flew into the highly restricted airspace over 3 critical air bases in the UK. So what gives?
It's a serious deal, man. We got to, I think it's a test. Somebody's testing us, and we're failing that test.
The Pentagon emphasized today that it still thinks many or most of these drones are hobbyist or corporate drones, but that's not very reassuring since the military and police seem unable to track them back to whoever is flying them. 20 years ago, when the Navy pilots encountered this famous Tic Tac object, military sensors allegedly could track a golf ball 100 miles away. Now we can't follow drones that are reportedly the size of automobiles. You know, the hearing today was classified, but it's not a big deal, not a threat. Don't worry about it.
Not getting a lot of answers. Couldn't some of them be spy drones essentially sent by our adversaries or enemies?
Absolutely, there could. And, last week, of course, the Pentagon said, no, they're not. They're absolutely ruled that out. But, of course, now they're saying, well, maybe they are. And I think that if that was the case, if China is flying drones all over the country, over military bases, nuclear sites, that's pretty scary because we're not able to track them. We can't or won't bring them down. That sends a really strange signal to our adversaries if that's the case.
That's a whole different story.
Watching this unfold is great fun. All these officials and cops and small town guys who are asking questions about what's flying around in the sky, and they're getting the same kind of runaround that those of us from UFO world are used to all these years.
You can relate.
I can. Yeah.
So many of them are fidgeting in their seats for sure. All right, George, thanks so much.
Yeah. Definitely heard the dirty bomb possibility, or China
mysterious drones that were
flying
first
them around,
spotted flying over New Jersey.
Flying them around possibility. China does have the Chinese, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, actually owns farmland surrounding nearby military bases of the U.S. They own a lot of that. There's been Chinese, Chinese nationals that have been coming up through the border, as it's been open during this current administration, who was on their way out, but through Venezuela. Actually, they come up through Venezuela. They stop in, I think, Venezuela, obtain all of their visa information, stay at these hotels that are designated to the CCP somehow, and then they make their way into America, which they've been coming through, and they've been allowed to come through because the CCP has made sure that the people that they're getting through here have all their visa information in order, but they're suspected to be Chinese military. So that is definitely a possibility. But the fact that the military is saying that they can't track them unless China has pulled what the Germans did during World War II, that they've obtained some type of advanced technology where they make their equipment or whatever untrackable, which is a possibility. I imagine that technology is out there somehow. I don't know. Given the fact that the orbs have been in existence for the last few thousand years, and then the drones with their advanced flight and technology and all that stuff, and what we've seen, the Lockheed video earlier in the show from the 1990s with the advanced, and it looks way more advanced than what the drones look like today, just as far as the flight goes. It just looks like an awkward. It looks like an engine that's being able to sustain flight. Doesn't have any wings, nothing. Just looks like something that could sustain flight. and that's what the prototype looked like. So if there's anything like that now, then flight wise there is a possibility. But as far as these things going twice or 3 times or 6 times or 10 times the speed of sound and not making a sound, like I'm talking about the orbs, and not making a sound, and the craft itself doesn't break apart, and whatever that's inside it that's possibly operating it doesn't die, I have to say that has to be way more advanced than what we've ever had. Human beings are, and if human beings do have that type of technology, it's limited to a specific group. It's limited to specific technocratic globalist groups. And one of the reasons I'm going to have Stephen Greer, because I know the show has been going on for a little while and I haven't even got to everything. I don't even think I'm going to be able to. But he explains that or at least alludes to the fact that the reason why this stuff hasn't been completely disclosed is because one, some people think that because it is an actual so-called threat, but he says that it's not a threat. He said it has to do with technology, and this technology could actually free 8 billion people on the planet, running water, running power, all by like the 0-point energy system that could be implemented globally, and we wouldn't have to depend on fossil fuel. And that would actually put multi-trillion-dollar industries out of business, corporations out of business, because
Reports of drone activity here.
People would be able to sustain themselves with technology that is available right now.
General Albert Stubblebine.
Possibly available right now. I'm going by according to what Stephen Greer says. This isn't what I think, or what I say. Although I do think there is a high possibility that is that these technologies do exist, and the reason why all of this disclosure hasn't come out, and the governments won't say what this stuff is because someone's in possession of these things, and if a full leak of that technology is given to the public, well, the public revolts against fossil fuels like entirely, because you can convert that technology onto your car, onto your home, onto your flight systems, onto your utility, and then you don't have to pay anything because the 0-point energy is residual. It never breaks down. It never evaporates. It never dies. Basically, I'm sure there's but there has to be some type of maintenance to it because metals and things, they break down. But unless the technology is actually so renewable that it actually repairs as it's being used, I don't know. Not a fucking scientist, but so I don't know how exactly that would work, but I do think that is a possibility. I do think that type of technology, it has to exist if we're seeing it, for the last 1,000 years. But if we're seeing it for the last few thousand years, and most recently within the last 100 years, what are they? Who are they? And is it even machine like, or is it just organic? Because some people I think sometimes that it's some type of an organic thing. We just don't know what it is, or someone does. Someone for sure knows.
We'll confirm go, no go for.
Let's see what this is. It's just another. I'm not going to show that. I thought I had the Stephen Greer explaining. No. Well, sorry. Let me just play this video actually, because this one is actually pretty interesting, and you'll find out why. Because I think that the larger scheme of this is that all of these orbs, drones, advanced tech, whatever, war, plus the elections and stuff like that. Like, I wanted to get into Trump and you know, kind of stir the thought process here is that, is Trump a globalist asset? And I think he is. The reason why I think he is whether he's knowingly a globalist asset, and I don't find Trump to be a completely stupid person. I think he has a wide intelligence to him. There's also very questionable connections that he has, Epstein being one of them. And I can't for sure say that he has any direct involvement with Epstein, but there are some questionable photos. There's some questionable quotes of Trump in the past. Some weird things, maybe taken out of context about his daughter, but still a very weird thing to say about your daughter, that he would actually, you know, like date her or something like that. It was something pretty tongue in cheek, but yeah, that's not something. That's not something I would find appropriate to say about your own daughter, but that's not entirely enough for me to say if he has any involvement for, you know, within you know, the whole pedophile rings and all that stuff, or if he has any true legitimate involvement with Epstein. But there is some questionable stuff in there that I do advise. I know if anyone out there is like a Trump supporter, you know, you got to hold everybody, you got to hold everybody's foot to the fire. But apart from that, when I say, do I think that Trump is a globalist asset? So there's been talks about, and I don't know, it's kind of like, it looks like surface area, outlandish things to say, but Trump is saying, oh, Canada's going to be the 52nd state of the U.S., which is an outlandish thing to say because it comes down to the American voter and also comes down to the Canadian voter and whether or not that's actually going to be some type of legitimate thing to do. And then Trump is also saying about taking back, you know, the Panama Canal. I don't know where any of this is, you know, what purpose it would be for. The only purpose that it would be for is to have full control of the Panama Canal, which I thought the U.S. already had anyway. I don't even think it would be any great effort for the U.S. You know, to occupy it. We already do. But the weird thing to say, to have Canada be in the 52nd state of the U.S. falls back on to the American Union. The North American Union, rather, which would be Canada, America, South America, Mexico. And that would encompass the full and total control of the North American, South American, Middle American continent region, and that would and Canada coming on board with that, which they are already a part of NATO, from my understanding. So it's already there. But now, what this would do is that the U.S. would now conduct the control over Canadian airspace, energy, utility, Congress. You know, it would completely change the inner workings of Canada, which they would have to adapt to our ways rather than us adapt to theirs. At least on the surface, on paper. So, because the globalist agenda, the ultimate globalist agenda, is that each continent, each major country, each major power, military power, economic power, is to consolidate all of these powers into regions. So there's going to be Africa Command, which is already established. Then you have the European Union, which is basically established. Some of those outside countries like Ireland, I believe Poland, And there's a few other countries out there that are resistant to the European Union, but eventually that's the calling card for them to be taken over, and then those countries adopting to the European Union. And then you have the North American, I think it's called the North American Union. And then you have all of these consolidations of currencies, all of these consolidations of military power, all of these consolidations of sovereignty into these regions, and then, which is pretty much already established through NATO, and that's why you have these like proxy wars going on. And then part of this Agenda 2030, a part of this Project Bluebeam stuff, a part of this UAP, UFO, drone stuff is to now consolidate all functional military, governmental, economic, technological power and religion into a one world government, one world apparatus. So the only way to do this is to create such an event so outlandish, so remarkable, such an event so biblical, that it creates this so-called enemy or a common interest of some sort, and it gets pretty much the majority of the public, which we have seen during COVID happen, where so many people submitted to it, globally submitted to it. The majority of the globe submitted to COVID-19, like immediately. The same people that you know and that I know, that was all like, oh, the government is we can't trust the government, we can't trust the pharmaceutical companies, we can't trust the CDC, we can't trust these people, and then immediately submitted to these mandates and to this fake alarm of a disease that was basically, it was just the flu. For most people, it was just the flu. For most healthy people, just the flu. And then not only did it end there, but also a vaccine was issued, the COVID-19 vaccine, and we've seen an influx of cancer. We've seen an influx of heart trouble. We've seen an influx of death, of people just dropping dead, like young people too. Young people within their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, like that's 60s. That's pretty damn young to be just dropping dead like that. But especially between the ages of, I believe, 12 and 35 or somewhere along those lines, people just boom, dropping dead. And I'm not saying it's unusual for people to have heart issues between those ages, but it's mostly unlikely. So we've seen people bow down during 9/11, and 9/11 was basically a smokescreen for a much larger scale of getting policies in place. This basically 9/11 was to enforce policies, Patriot Act, the Geneva Convention. I can't remember the exact. I know it was through NATO. NATO was the plan, which was basically agenda. This was part of the Agenda 21, and also COVID with the pandemics, to get countries on board militarily, economically, technologically, medically, and the next phase into this, which I believe is like phase 4, the final phase. The final phase into getting to a full-fledged global governing, global military, global technology, global economy, and a global religion is through this major event, which people have dubbed through Project Bluebeam. Some people say that the Project Bluebeam stuff is actually bullshit, but if you're corroborating all of this evidence and all of this information with the orb stuff and the drone stuff and the disclosures during congressional hearings, the military coming out with more and more so-called evidence, and the news, which has been more prevalent, which has been more active on reporting on this stuff, which in the past has not been, like decades into the past, has really pretty much ignored, reporting anything like this unless it was super significant, are now all of this evidence corroborating is now leading up to this point of where this is going to be a large scale event. And I think two things are happening. I think something actually real is coming from it, which, because those orbs are real. There's a real thing to them. There's a real, there's something there. And I think there's something there to where there's actual material, there's actual technology there being used, whether it's organic or inorganic or something we just don't understand, or something someone does understand and we're not being told what it is. And then there's also the stuff that's leaked as far as man-made and all that stuff. And the man-made part about this, the Project Bluebeam part about this, is that it's going to fake some type of event, fake some type of war, fake some type of, I do think actual people are going to die and be hurt and be, something truly damaging is going to come from this to some extent, I think. On what type of scale, I don't know. What I do hope for is that the plan that, because they have the technology to do it, what I do hope for is that the plan is going to be so significant, such an event that we cannot turn away from, is that the actual so-called biblical event that is anti to this man-made Project Bluebeam, whatever you want to call it, the discernment that people are going to use, we're going to see the actual truth in it. And that's just an opinion, that's just a speculation, that's just an idea that I see it, because I just can't see this plan going all the way and people not being able to have a moment to actually see what it is. What I will say is that that these drones and all this stuff, they know where they are, they know where they're going, they know how they definitely know that they're coming from somewhere. They can be tracked, they're being recorded, they're giving off some type of frequency. And if they're having some difficulty on some of this stuff, at the end of the day, it's still man-made. Those drones, but the orb stuff, that's different. That might not be so-called man-made, or it is, and it's I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think the year of 2025 is going to be quite a significant one, and up until 2030 is going to be super. We're living in a movie, like quite literally, especially like right after 9/11. When all that went down, that was the first movie. I mean, let's not forget about all of the other stuff too, like World War II, World War I. How America started out, how in ancient times, how Jesus and biblical times and all that stuff. Let's not forget all that stuff. That's all significant and it's all playing a part, and it's all like being ripped out of the book of Ezekiel for the most part, and then Revelations in some form. I'm not, it's you can read that, and then you could see what's going on today, and you can say like, oh, this, you could actually pick almost word for word of what's happening. I mean, obviously a lot of stuff is in parable type of language to a certain degree, methodical, or but what we're seeing and what we're witnessing, you can almost read it word for word out of like ancient text, out of like out of scripture. So I think that's what we're witnessing. We may not know the hour or the day, but we will know the season. And I do believe we've been living in the season. We've been living in the season, especially since 9/11. Some would even say, like, even after Jesus' resurrection, that was the day of the end times, basically. So, and the end time doesn't mean like the end of the world or anything like that. It just means the end of this time. Could be a cycle. I don't know. Somewhere along the lines in there, there's supposed to be some new earth, and the enemy is supposed to be vanquished from doing anything at all, ever, forever. Hopefully, that is what happens. Hopefully, that is exactly what's beginning. But it's going to be a wild ride, and it looks like it's going to be a wild ride. So, oh yeah, and the Elon directive. Yeah, I think Elon has a big part into this because I think he's also a globalist asset in all of this as well. And I know a lot of people out there are thinking like this is the ultimate dream team of the Trump administration to have Tulsi Gabbard, to have Robert Kennedy Jr., which I hold more faith in the Robert Kennedy Jr. because of his background. Trump, Elon Musk, and there's a lot of others. Vivek, Kash Patel, the FBI director. What is his name? Tom Hammond, the director of ICE, or I think he's going to be. And some of these guys have some ties with this so-called Project 25 thing. And I don't know too much about that. I don't even think we have too much to worry about that because in 2030, going into 2025, into 2030, yeah, we're going to see some wild things. Hopefully no one drops a nuke. Hopefully no one lets one off. Hopefully these things supposedly being reported, these orbs that are reported, who are shutting these things down in military bases to kind of be like, hey, look, don't do this type of deal. Hopefully that keeps on happening because I just don't see anything ending good. Something letting off a nuke, let alone a dirty bomb, whatever it is, any of that mess. I mean, I think at some point, some type of divine intervention has to make some big reveal to some degree so people just stop acting like a bunch of primitive people in a cave. I mean, listen, like society, we may be sophisticated, we may have all this technology and all this stuff and whatever, and we think that we're sophisticated and civilized and whatnot. We are far from civilized. We've been far from civilized. Now, I believe most people are good in the sense to be civilized and to live, to coexist, but the people who are in control of very dangerous weaponry and very, possibly withholding things from society that could help society to elevate society, to bring society to a so-called golden age. And I do think that we're heading in there. Shouts to Cat Williams. Anyway, that's where we're at. This is the episode. Crazy times, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I don't know where it's all going, but I do know if you're listening to this transmission, you are the resistance. This is The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. I appreciate everybody for having tuned in. I know it's been a while. I know I haven't been doing my best to be consistent with all this. I waited on this particular episode because I wanted to get as much information as I possibly could and cram it in all at once because I'm very excited, curious, somewhat nostalgic over the whole UFO stuff because I've followed the UFO stuff for probably my entire life ever since I've been a kid, only because of the great interest that I've had in it and the experiences that I've had witnessing certain things that I couldn't explain myself. And I've had conversations with other people. They've had witnessed things like that. I'm constantly looking up in the sky, looking for things all the time. And every now and then I see something I can't explain. You know, I most of the time I'm like, oh, that's a plane. Oh, that's a satellite, or oh, that's a, you know, helicopter, drone, whatever. And I can kind of discern what is and isn't. Oh, that's a shooting star, or whatever, you know, whatever that was. But every now and then there's just those things just doing whatever they do. I'd like to really know what the hell they are and who they are, and if they are a who, can they just, you know, get these elites out of the way, these so-called elites, these so-called people who are in control of very, very dangerous things that they don't deserve to be in control of and shouldn't be. Basically what I'm saying is, God, just intervene. I know you are. It's all part of the plan. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. I thank you once again for tuning into The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. That is the TRU Perspective, The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure that you add the page on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. Spotify and Rumble are the best places to go to hear the show, but it goes live on multiple platforms. I'm going to try and see to get it on other platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff, and use these platforms to get this out there. But most of all, if you just share, subscribe, send it out, tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your family, anybody that's interested in talking about these I don't know, high profile topics, looking for guests to talk about some more things. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, appreciate y'all. Like, share, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. I love y'all. Thank y'all. Good night. Peace. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this is our last chance to say it.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time is coming.
At a
Train can't be stopped.